Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome for the first time. If you don't know me, my name is Angela and I find my paradise through reading. um, I I was going through my books. If you've been with me for some time, you know I just had like these big bookshelves built, and I was going through all of the books that I had all over my house and kind of organizing what I'm going to put on the new bookshelf and where I'm going to put all the rest of the books. So it was a, what do you call it, a labor of love. It was a lot of work. But as I was going through the books, and I think, at least for me, I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, but for me, some of these books are like a song, in the way that you'll hear a song and it'll like take you back to a certain time, right? You get nostalgic and you remember a certain time. It just invokes these memories. And so while I was going through these books, I was being reminded of certain times in my life, or just even times when I was reading the books, people who gave me these books, just different things. So I came across one book that is still very special to me. It is one of the oldest books. Uh, okay, it's not an old book. So let's say, okay, it is the book that I've had the longest. And there is a reason that the reason I have this book still is because of what it reminds me of. And it just, every time I see this book, will I ever read it again? Probably not. Was it the best book I ever had read? Not in the least. But it meant a lot to me because of how I got this book. And so I am going to share that story with you. Okay, so the book that I have owned for the longest time is this. It is How to Get the Most from God's Word, an Everyday Guide to Enrich Your Study of the Bible by John MacArthur Jr. Okay, and I'm not going to tell you, I mean, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. I guess it's some kind of a Bible study book, but it's the story behind how I got this book. Okay, so this book came into my hands a long, seemed like just yesterday, but it's been a pretty long time. And it was around winter. I was a young single parent of two daughters, and they were 3 and 1, 3.5 and 1.5, that December. And I was low income. I was living in poverty, and it was around the Christmas holidays. And my social worker, who was like helping me with like community resources, food banks and things like that, the social worker I was working with told me about a program where I could write my name and my children's names, and I could potentially get a sponsor for Christmas gifts. Oh, let's see if I can tell the story without crying. So I filled it out, not expecting much. I may or may not get a sponsor, and I just kind of wanted the girls to get some gifts for Christmas. So 2 days before Christmas, my social worker contacts me and she says, "Hey, can I swing by? I have the Christmas gifts from your sponsor." And I said, "Wow, okay, that's great." So I was expecting, 1 or 2 gifts for the kids. And when I went down to let my social worker in, I mean, she had garbage bags full of gifts. I had to help her carry all these bags upstairs, and they were wrapped. They were just beautifully wrapped. They were in beautiful gift bags, and there were gifts for my kids and for me. And I mean, it was in all Christmas history ever, it was the best Christmas I ever had in my life. And it just meant so much to me. And the sponsor is anonymous. So I was never able to personally thank the organization that sponsored my family. All I knew it was a church. There was a church that sponsored us. And I mean, Christmas morning, I was just excited as the girls were, because even I didn't know what was in these packages. And they got the most beautiful gifts. They got beautiful winter clothes and brand new toys. And I even got, and everything was like in Bon-Ton and J.C. Penney, like these department store gift boxes that I never had the money to go to these department stores. And they just blessed us so much. I mean, they gave me a vacuum. I got a vacuum cleaner. I got beautiful, like thick, luxury, nice towels that I just was blown away. I was just so blown away that Christmas by the generosity. And in one of the gift bags, there was like a scarf and gloves and things for me. And there was this book. And every time I look at this book, I just am always brought back to that Christmas. And I read the book a couple times, and it was like, it still has like my old address in here. This is the apartment I was living in, and my old phone number. And it just meant so much. And I had, since then, I had struggled so much. And I'd been through a divorce. I was moving from one place to another. I was getting evicted. I had gone through a winter with no heat and hot water. And I just kept going. I kept going. And no matter how many times I moved, I always brought this book. And if you've heard me talk about before, when I had books in storage or books in someone's basement or whatever, and they got damaged and mildewed and all of that, it was every time I was moving and I had to store my things somewhere, I would store everything, but this always came with me. So this never got damaged in the basement. It never got lost. It never got donated. Sometimes, it was cool because like I didn't even have any books of my own. I always went to the library. And so to be where I am now, I guess, is just amazing to see how far I've come since then. But yeah, to know that I've had this one book, and sometimes it was the only book that I owned because everything else got damaged, or I just didn't have a place to put it. I had to get rid of so many things because of constantly moving or not having the space, or there was a lot going on in my life. And this was like the constant. I'm not going to let this one go, because a long time ago, there was a church that cared enough to sponsor me and my children in our greatest time of need. And I can pretty much say it just really changed my life. And I had, what do you say, just a renewed, how do you say it? You kind of believe in humanity again. You kind of start knowing that there are good people out there. And so as I continued on like with my life, and I got better and got more and more, I would say successful, I guess. I mean, I'm just living the American dream, right? I'm a homeowner. I ended up being the first person in my family to own a home. My father did not own a home. My mother did not own a home. Neither of my siblings owned a home. And I, as a single mother with 2 children, at the age of 27, I bought my first home. And it's been, kind of like a work in progress ever since. And I do have a lot to thank the church for what they did for me for that Christmas, but it just kind of went so much beyond that in just kind of believing that there are good people out there, not just that, but just in books, it was just, and philanthropy. So as I got better and better, because I was given so much, I started giving so much when I had. So I started like sponsoring children for different things. I've been on volunteer committees. I've been on board of directors for some organizations that I believed in. I was I would donate money to a homeless women's shelter that I used to stay at. So I kind of like really brought it, everything that came into me, I was putting it right back out there into the world as, that's what we have to do, right? That's what we do as people. But yeah, it was cool because, I always had like a wonderful relationship with books, and books really, really had a lot to do with how I went from poverty into where I am today, right? It was through books that I was checking out at the library that I learned about budgeting and investing and cooking meals on a budget and how to be frugal, how to save. I read books with Warren Buffett and his advice. I learned about what I needed to know to purchase my first home. So what do I need to do as a first-time home buyer? And so books taught me a lot. It taught me how to garden and grow my own food. Books taught me how to can and preserve food from my garden or from the farmers markets when I would buy things in bulk in season to save money. Books taught me how to knit, crochet, sew, and yeah, the books made me who I am today. And yeah, I don't know. Did I go off on a tangent? Maybe a little bit. But I just thought it was a really cool story that I would share with you guys, that this book is the book that I have had for the longest. I will never get rid of this book, and I will always, always, always be reminded about that very special Christmas when we had nothing. We just had nothing, and a beautiful, beautiful church organization sponsored us and just changed our lives. It was the best. It was just the best. Anyways, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a little bit of something about me, a little bit about my past and where I come from. And yeah, let me know, drop in the comments if you have like any specific books that like remind you about a specific time, or if there's a book that you've had for the longest that you're never going to get rid of it because of maybe its sentimental value, or books that have changed your life, that have helped you grow as a person. Books are just so special. And like I said, they're like a song. They can bring back those memories and that nostalgia, and I love them forever. Anyways, I look forward to hearing from you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.